Today, we have sent out letters about 3 weeks ago to some agencies of the federal government, some ministry, departments, and agencies, to cause appearance before the Public Account Committee to defend the queries raised against them by the Office of the General for the Federation. And like you can see from the notice posted on the committee's group chat, today we were expecting to have the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, which had 6 major queries raised by the General for the Federation against it. The Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, which had 7 major queries raised against it. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, which had 5 major queries raised against it. And the Federal Ministry of Transportation, which is to come here to answer to 5 queries raised by the General for the Federation. And also we have the Federal Inland Revenue Services, the Makurdi office of the FIRS, which had 1 query raised against it. We have the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the headquarters in Abuja, which had 2 major issues in 2020 and had 17 issues in 2021 report. FIRS Abuja had 17 issues from 2021 Auditor General's report. These are the MDAs that were written to cause appearance before this Constitutional Committee today. And I want to just give an update on the kind of responses we have received from these MDAs. And I'm doing this, honorable colleague, very conscious of one very important fact, and that is the fact that our country has a need to plug all revenue leakages and loopholes. And one of the ways through which this can be done is to ensure that we have effective auditing system put in place, as well as resolution of audit queries by the National Assembly, the Public Account Committee. I also want to put in context, honorable colleagues, that for quite a while now, we have had a lot of instances of members of the public, including the civil society organization, calling out the National Assembly for what they perceived as not doing enough in terms of our oversight and other statutory powers to put MDAs in proper check so that they can deliver on the very good intentions of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and, of course, of the Parliament which appropriate these monies to them. A lot of times, as we have witnessed here, we write out letters to MDAs inviting them to defend audit queries, to respond to issues contained in the report, and you hardly even get responses. I also want to put in context that just last week, our counterpart in the Senate Public Account Committee, had to issue some press statements against specific ministry, departments, and agencies of government that have been found to perpetually ignore summons, invitations, requests for documents, as well as invitation for appearance before this committee. So against this backdrop, I want to report that the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment had been written 7 times. Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment had been written 7 times in the last 5 months. And on each occasion, the ministry has shunned those invitations and refused to provide documents in defense of the queries raised against them by the Auditor General for the Federation. And I have to put those issues also in proper context, honorable colleagues. For the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, in the Auditor General's report, is a case of an unaccounted allocation to the Geneva Labor Desk amounting to a sum of 351 million naira. 351 million naira, which was paid to a desk that had its own appropriation already done by the Parliament. Another one is the payment without evidence of execution of projects, amounting to 226 million naira. On retired cash advances, amounting to 344 million naira. Payment for consultancy service without execution, 7 million naira. Abuse of cash advance policy and regulations to the tune of 338 million naira. Payment for non-existent job center, purportedly executed in three different parts of Nigeria, amounting to 497 million naira. A whole lot of issues, 17 in all. Payment for another contract not executed in Kaduna, 144 million naira. Unsubstantiated contract award and non-execution of contracts, 67 million naira. These are some of the issues to which the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment has been written 7 times in the last 5 to 6 months without the responding or coming to defend those issues. And I want to take these ministries one after the other. I want us to resolve on each of them one after the other. If after giving out invitation 7 times and they have refused to come, honorable colleagues, we are running out of time. We have volumes of reports to consider. I do not, in all honesty, think we should continue to churn out letters, wasting our paper and ink and time. And for a proper conceptual understanding too, there are recommendations already contained in the report of the Auditor General. What we just do in this committee is to serve as an arbiter where we give benefit of the doubt and right to reply or fair hearing to these MDAs. We have done that 7 times, including in December, issuing a press statement to ask that they be defunded from the federal allocation. So, honorable colleagues, I want us to start with the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. I want to have your opinion, position, so that we can reach a resolution and move on to other issues. Thank you very much.
Is the law that guides all ministries, departments, and agencies. This committee, as a constitutional committee, has the task to review all activities of MDAs. And on this note, since they believe they are not under the Constitution of Nigeria, the only option we have is that the relevant anti-corruption agencies take charge and the CEOs, heads of those agencies are invited to explain their infractions. Thank you.
Its wisdom just decided that it will not be very neat for the Auditor General to be the alpha and the omega on this matter. That's why the Constitution says he must submit the report to the National Assembly, which refers it to the Public Account Committee, which is constitutional. And the recommendations are there, and whenever the Auditor General makes those recommendations, he cites the relevant sections or paragraphs or the financial regulation or any other law that has been violated. So I'll just put the question, honorable colleagues, so that we can move on. If the decision of this committee is that the Auditor General's query issued against the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment for the year ended 31 December 2020 on 17 major heads be sustained as presented by the Auditor General. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. By this implication, we sustain all the recommendations of the Auditor General and direct the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to invite the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Labor and Employment for the year 2015-2019, Mr. William Nwankwo, and the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Yerima Peter Tarfa, 2020-2021, to answer questions on the expenditure of the various sums of money, totaling almost 10 billion naira, which the Auditor General found against the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment in those years.